and just get started. Now, for those that are unaware, because I do see there's a lot of people that actually I have not seen on a live before, so welcome. This whole entire week has been dedicated to fundraising for the launch. Now, in any business, there's many different components of it, right? You have the inception, like when you get the sign, this is what I'm going to do, this is going to be a great idea. Then you have the building. And now the building isn't as easy as it sounds, right? Like when you think about building, you might think about building a house. Okay, I want to build a house, put a brick, put a brick, put a brick. But the part that you're missing in terms of building a house is the architect. There is somebody that went ahead and laid out everything so that you could build properly. And in fact, many businesses have an architect. In fact, many businesses don't need an architect because they already had an architect years ago, right? So if I want to build a house, I probably could go look at someone else's architect papers and I could build that house, right? Okay, that house on the street looks really nice. Let's get their architectural plans and let's just follow it. The difference is when you're inventing something, that architect part isn't easy. Because when you're inventing something, you have to, A, come up with an inspiration that makes sense to you. B, you have to then allow every which angle to go ahead and poke holes in it. It's like George Washington, our first president, his cabinet were people that disagreed with him. Now, we don't see that so much in politics anymore, but there was a point. In fact, back in the day, the vice president was the losing presidential candidate. And it really guaranteed that the White House represented everyone, right? The president represented the majority and the vice president represented the minority, but them together represented the country. And that was quite a good idea. I don't even know where I was going with that. So in terms of, so in terms of inventing something, you now need to let everyone in to go ahead and it's so difficult, right? So to even get to the point that you're able to go ahead and find dissenters, you need to be able to be so welcoming and so goal-driven that people who like you enough to share input with you also have to believe that their input, which might be constructive criticism, is not going to leave them on the outside looking in, right? It can't be where Anthony is inventing Rhino and then somebody like Caro or Don comes to me and says, Ant, I really think you should do this, or at least kind of describe why you decided to do this. And I say, oh, blah, 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 never talking to them again. Because not only will they not be able to offer the advice and the constructive criticism from their behalf, but others see it as a threat. All right, I like Anthony, I like what he's doing, but I'm not going to be the one to go say that to him because the last time somebody said it to him, he went off and now they're gone. And you cannot build a company with any ego, especially if you're inventing something. Because when you're inventing something, you need to go ahead and make it in the vision of the populace. I, Anthony, like certain things. I, Anthony, came home last night and ate 2 pieces of leftover steak that were undercooked to begin with, all the way from Friday. That was fine for me. Does that mean if I came home and my wife said, Aunt, let's go have dinner, I can then serve that to her? It can't. Meaning, just because I like it doesn't mean other people like it. In fact, in that example, only 50% of the people liked it, and that's not going to get you anywhere. You need to go ahead and create something that could scale through population through everyone, and everyone feels like their DNA's in it. Everyone feels like they've touched, tasted, whatever, for them to be a part of it. And it's called being an accomplice, right? In fact, it is in behavioral science that if you're asking someone something, you don't say, what do you think? Or give me your feedback, because now you're putting yourselves on separate sides of the argument. I believe this, what do you think? But if you ask someone, oh, would you offer me some advice? Now they feel like you're on the same side of the argument. You're both looking at something and they're offering you advice, which means by nature, they're now an accomplice. Because if you listen to that advice, you thoughtfully analyze it, and God forbid you actually find it to be good advice and you go ahead and apply it, that person who offered it to you now feels like the product is part of them. They feel it's like their baby as well. In fact, I've received so many emails through this journey where people have said to me, Anthony, I feel so connected to Rhino. I don't know what it is. I don't have any funds to invest in it. I just feel like this is my baby and I don't understand it. And it's because Rhino, since day one, always looked at everyone and said, you matter. Every part of Rhino, although you see my face, is not me. I'm just the steward of it. I'm leading it. I have to go ahead. And my superpower is that no matter what happens, and the reason it's called Rhino is there was a book called Rhinoceros Success by Scott Daly, I think, or Fitzgerald Scott, something like that, right? And I feel embarrassed because it's probably the most consequential book I've ever read. And what he says is he goes ahead and delineates people between two categories, rhinos and cows. Now, nothing is derogatory. The world needs both, but they're different personality types, right? So the cows are those that love living life, right? But a standard of life, a consistent life. They want to go to work, they want to come home, they want to have their chores, they want to have their family, they want to live a very stable life, which God bless, right? Then you have the rhinos who just want more. They want to run, they want to bump into walls. The wall, they bump into the wall, they fall, they get up, they bump into the wall, they fall, they get up and they blast through the wall, and they go to the next place, the next place, the next place. Because it's in their personality that they are saying, I'm responsible for you. I'm going to make sure that whatever's behind that wall, I'm going to knock it down and open it for everyone because that's where they get their joy. And that book resonated with me because that's how, Scott Alexander, thank you, babe. That resonated with me because I said Fitzgerald. He's a really great author too. What's the movie I'm thinking of? And I digress, right? And that was always me because that matched my personality. So in doing so, in taking that and bringing it over to Rhino was every time anyone ever said anything. And in fact, if somebody was too shy to say anything, I reached out to them and said, hey, listen. Tell me some advice. Tell me what I can be doing better because I'm not making this for me. I could run through a wall, but if it's just me on the other side of it, what did I do? I just bumped my head. I have a concussion by myself, right? It would behoove me to have a nurse come or a doctor come to the wall with me because I'm probably going to have a concussion on the other side. It's like making the most amazing dinner. If you're the only one eating it, who cares? It's like going on vacation. If you didn't take a picture, who cares, right? It's just the memory that's unique to you. So when you're inventing something, not only do you have to have that inspiration, but you have to be prepared that that inspiration is going to be wrong 10 out of 10 times going forward. There is so much you're going to change about that. There's so many things that it's going to lead you to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. You once thought you loved Chinese food, but when you went to the Chinese restaurant, they ran out of lo mein and they served you just pasta, right? They ran out of soy sauce and they only had tomato sauce. And you went to the Chinese place because you loved lo mein and you left loving Italian food. You loved pasta, right? You don't know what's around the corner, but you have to be open to it. And I feel like so many times people share that with their children, with their friends. You have to be open to life. If you're looking for love, you won't find it. You have to have love find you and blah, blah, blah. But it's all correct. You need to be open to it. So when we started, we had various different programs. We had Persuasion, Rhino Digital, Rhino Premier, Rhino Concierge, Rhino University, Rhino Traffic. We had so much. And to the credit of Rhino, each program at the moment was the be all and end all. We believed at that moment that this was going to bring us to where we needed to go. And then once we got there, we realized this isn't exactly what we want. In fact, anyone will tell you those programs were all $37 a month. We had a nice residual. In fact, we had the path to continue building that residual. But what didn't feel good about it was, sure, I'm doing my best to offer material and to offer material, to offer advice, to offer services, to offer things which I overly offered, and everybody knows that. But still, I'm charging people. And if somebody is paying to participate in our program so that they can be better, there's a transaction there that I'm not comfortable with. I'm taking your money now, and I'm promising you that in my best effort, that if you understand what I'm saying and that we're similar enough that you can go repeat what I'm doing, you're going to get results later. In which case, that person always made an investment into me. And then it was the it was then the responsibility, the obligation from my behalf to go ahead and make two with that investment. Now, many times people would say, oh, you know what, I'm having a difficult time this month. Can I pause the service, or whatever variation was that their life shared with us, that the reason they got into it, which was to go ahead and find some solutions to challenges, timing just didn't work out and those challenges became bigger. And every single time, and if anyone knows that, well, everyone knows this, right? Every single time I said, don't even worry about it. We're going to cancel your payments. And when down the road that you're able to participate, you let me know. And actually, to our credit, down the road, some of those people actually said, hey, listen, I'd like to start paying you again. They voluntarily came to us and said they want to start paying. And we knew at that moment that wasn't a bad thing, but we were missing the point. It's like playing football and being the fastest person and then realizing, well, why am I playing football? I should just go play track where that skill's better, because my best skill is at my speed. It's not that I can catch. I don't like being tackled, but I'm really fast. So how about I go to something that's just that? We were able to find and identify what it is that we were good at and say, you know what, with an open mind, let's continue growing. So we decided, you know what, we're canceling all payments for everything. We do not want anyone's money. Now, Rhino Research LLC is a for-profit company, right? We have investors. We send them 1% dividends every single month. We send them their percentage of profit distributions every single month. Our investors are quite happy. They never missed a month. They never missed a check, no matter what, no matter COVID, no matter anything. No one's ever missed a check. When we had every excuse, every reason to go ahead and say we failed, no one ever missed a check. And when we went ahead and shared with everyone, hey guys, we're canceling all of our reoccurrings and we're not going to be collecting money from anyone anymore, I can promise you our investors were like, Anthony, you are making close to $70,000 a month in reoccurrings. It's not a good decision to just go ahead and cancel all that, because how are you going to make money? And I said, it just doesn't feel right. We're not where we need to be, because the risk associated with all of that was we had economic risk. What if the economy doesn't do well and now all of these people are unable to go ahead and pay those fees or pay those investments into their future? We don't want to be held to that. And what about even further, those that are having a difficult time, but they like us so much, and that was our superpower. People liked us that they felt embarrassed. They didn't want to stop paying us, and they put themselves in a hole that they said, oh, darn, I wish I made a more logical decision rather than emotional. We don't want that either. We're never going to stop trying to be liked as much as possible, but that also has an opposite end. It's like if you're the greatest persuader in the world, you have a responsibility not to go ahead and persuade somebody into something that's not ethical for them, even though you could do it. So we just said, you got to believe in us. I've never let anyone down. Just please believe in us. So we went ahead and we had the idea of Rhino traffic. And Rhino traffic is kind of the first iteration, the 1.0 of what Rhino Street became. And I am going to jump to Rhino Street, and I know we have a packed house, so please don't leave me, right? But what Rhino traffic was okay, Google and search engines are for profit. Their product is people. So when you click on a search engine and search, you believe you're operating a free service. What you don't know is that you're actually the product, because without your searches, when you search something on the other end of it, there's companies that are paying Google to be the search result for a relevant search. So when you go ahead and search puppy or shoe, let's say shoe, when you search shoe, Nike, Adidas, Reebok, etc., are paying Google for, when someone searches shoe, make sure you put us up first, because we want to be the first place that they go, and we want to go ahead and get that sale. Which means without you, the search engine makes no money, but you're the free user, right? No, you're the product. They just don't allow you to kind of ever come to grips with that. So what Rhino traffic was the first iteration of that. Fatima, no. And I'm going to explain how that works. It's all in the coin. And I think you're going to understand that the bigger pot of gold, like the $1 trillion pot of gold, is in what we're doing. So please stay with me. I'll get to that in probably 5 minutes. that being said, so Rhino traffic was our first foray, our first thought experiment into that. So what the offer was for $500 a month, we were going to build you your own app. We were going to build out an audience, and we were going to suggest you and just you to that audience. The $500 that you paid us was going to go to building out that audience. So essentially, we were paying the audience to be the audience. And that on paper made sense to us. All right, Fatima gives us $500. We take that $500 and pay an audience. Hey guys, you're our audience. We're going to send each one of you $1. And because Fatima did 500 and V did 500 and Brian did 500 and Esteban did 500, now you're collecting $4, $5, $6 just to go ahead and be our audience. In which case, the reciprocity of that was, hey, I'm getting paid to be an audience. Of course, I want to go ahead and support those that are paying me. So you know what? I'll take a look at Fatima's email and I'll look for a reason to actively support or actively consider her proposition, her value, right? Her offer. And that made sense to us. The difficulty was we were back to where we started. We're now charging people again. But even though it made sense to us, we were still charging people. And that's not a business model that could work. It's not a business model that we were okay with. But we had 38 businesses sign up within the first 2 weeks of that, which means we went from 70,000 reoccurring to 0, and then quickly back up to 19,000 reoccurring with great success, showing that we could probably build this even further. The difficulty was, from my perspective, I could not understand for the life of me how businesses would be able to continue paying that $500 in perpetuity, because at some point, if the economy is going to hit someone at $37, it's going to hit someone at $500. And the competition on the internet is so grand that I can't guarantee that Fatima's offer is going to be so much better than everyone else's, and that this audience isn't going to just walk away. Yeah, we get $6, $7 from Rhino. You know what? I'm going to actually just keep that 6 or 7 and pretend I open things, because we're never handcuffing anyone. There's no net. There's no like jail. We don't say we gave you that money. Now you have to go ahead and buy this. So it made sense, but it wasn't scalable. So you could ask any one of our Rhino traffic holders, what did we do? Canceled all the payments. And actually the money that we did receive for them, we went ahead and compensated them in Rhino coin at 1 penny per coin, which no one's ever got the offer to, except if you were an equity holder in the first month. So equity holders and those that had Rhino traffic got compensated in Rhino coin at 1 cent and Rhino coin 6 cents. So everyone's happy so far, right? So to get to Fatima's point, what is it that we're working on? How did that get us to Rhino Street? So we did a little bit of soul searching, and we did a little bit of talking to people, and by product and by credit of Rhino and all of the different platforms that we had the entire way, we actually had a complete community. In fact, Rhino has 1,100 members right now, and it grows every single day. No marketing involved. It's 1,100 people that own coin that actually email me back and forth on a daily basis. In fact, if you wanted to see how many unread emails I have about 9,235. And that's not to say that I don't read people's emails. I probably read 25,000 of them, right? And every moment I still get back to them further and further. But that's the type of community we have. In fact, we have a concierge department solely for the fact that we have somebody that everyone could be able to touch base with, so that you always get an immediate answer no matter what the concern is. That's Rhino. So how it led to Rhino Street was, all right, so we did a little soul searching. And we realized, because my background's not only behavioral science, but economics at a very, very high degree, right? And I'm like, wait a second. This doesn't make sense to me. Okay, wait a second. So the wealth disparity in this nation is at an all-time high since like the roaring 20s, right? Like since 1929, you have not had the 1% own as much as they have right now. So, okay, is that going to continue? Yes or no? So we have to think about that. But when you go ahead and identify what is it, what is the root cause, what is the one thing that would lead one to say, you know what, it's that. Because you can't change everything about everyone, right? You just can't. So you have to find the thing, the precipice, the spark, the rose that grew out of concrete, to quote Tupac, right? What is that thing? And we've identified it as search engines. And I know that seems a bit innocuous and almost a little bit of funny, like search engines, like Anthony, what are you talking about? Search engines. It's like a idea. So every search engine that you're familiar with, and we'll take Google since they're 94.2% of the search engine market. So let's go there. They're a for-profit company. In fact, Google's worth almost $2 trillion. When was the last time you bought anything from Google? Crickets. Have you ever paid for a search? Have you ever given Google your information to search? No, but you search. So wait a second, they're worth $2 trillion and they don't take money from anyone. What am I missing here? And this is the argument, or at least this is the feedback, the debate, the business plan that I share with our investors. They're worth $2 trillion and they don't take money from anyone. How is that possible? Because Google is a for-profit search engine. Of course, they're worth $2 trillion. They make profit. In fact, last year they made $250 billion of profit. How did they do it? Well, they built an amazing system, right? Their search engine is the best. They've invested in server after server after server so that if you type, what is the lyrics to Nirvana's Come As You Are, you will get the lyrics within, I don't know, a quarter of a second. If you want to know the weather in Calcutta, you will find out what it is. If you want to know how to make a chicken pot pie using Australian kangaroo, you can find out what it is. In fact, I made prime rib for Mother's Day, and I was able to figure out how to do it on the Google. In fact, the thing that messed it up, which made it undercooked, was that the prime rib roast that I got had a little like automatic, this will pop when it's done, and I trusted that over Google. I trusted the meat over Google and I lost, right? That's how important Google is. So when people use this service, because the service is amazing, in fact, Google has more technology in it than 75 rocket ships that could have been launched to the moon in 1970, right? Or 1960, that's Google, or 1980, whenever the rocket went to the moon, right? So that's Google. And because they've spent so much investment there, which means they invested in something without making money, because they believed they were going to make money, they had investor funds. They did fundraising to do that because they were never making any money until they turned the switch on. They had to reach scale. And I'm not saying this because I have a certain opinion of Google. I read the founder's book from Larry Page and Sergey Brin. I know Google fairly intimately. That's when they decided, you know what? If we make this and they didn't make it to, they made Google like Zuckerberg made Facebook without any inclination of how they were going to make profit. They just knew if they made the best product, the money would follow. In fact, of the things that my father has ever said, one of the things that always stuck with me in a good way was, don't worry about money. Work, 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 and the money will follow. Be the best and the money will always be there, which is why I'm on conversations all week about fundraising, and no one has said no to me. Various people have different degrees of what they can and can't do, but no one says, Anthony, no, click, because they see what we're doing. Everyone wants to be a part of it, right? So what Google does is they're a for-profit search engine. They've built an ecosystem that allows everyone to have the most amazing experience possible by searching something. But because they did that, they built an audience that was so overwhelming that everyone searches on Google. Now, when you go ahead and collect and track what people search, where they search it from, you come up with a lot of data. That data is the holy grail to any business, because any business is handcuffed to their locality, right? Without the internet, a business can only sell things to people that can see their product. If there was no internet that ever existed, you would only buy things from your main street, which is how it's been for like the entire history of time. But the internet has gone ahead and disrupted that. And we're not saying disrupted that is bad. We're not saying that we believe the internet is wrong. We're just pointing out the facts of how the internet affected that industry. So when you go ahead and search shoes, Nike already paid Facebook X amount of dollars and said, listen, when anyone searches shoes, I want to be the first result. And for every person that sees my ad and actually clicks it, I'm going to give you X amount of money. And that's the contract Google makes. In fact, Google, the way they make that contract is because they have the data and because they kind of know how many people are going to click and blah, blah, blah. they make the charge 50% of what the company is going to make. In fact, the average business that uses Facebook ads makes 201% ROI, return on investment. So as a business, if I can go to Google and I have $10,000 and I can give it to Google and I'm going to make $20,000 worth of sales, well, gee golly funk, that's a good idea. In fact, I don't need to invest in this like Main Street thing. I don't need to go ahead and invest in a storefront. In fact, why don't I get rid of all my overhead? Why don't I just sit in my house with my arm elbow deep in a bag of Doritos, in my boxers, on the couch, eating chips that fell through the cracks, and just sitting on my computer and selling stuff because Google's able to do that for me? I think you should. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think the market's wrong. I think capitalism and the invisible hand that Adam Smith spoke about is real. In fact, if you can do that, I think you should. But here's the caveat. Google operates a monopoly, and not a monopoly in the sense that they're the biggest search engine, which they are by leaps and bounds, but a monopoly over the search industry, because there is no such thing as a nonprofit search engine. Kind of like media. Imagine if there was a nonprofit media, the news might actually be fair and balanced. Imagine if there was a nonprofit, if politics was nonprofit, you might actually get the best candidate. The same thing with search results. Imagine if there was a search engine that was nonprofit, that did not succumb and did not go ahead and identify and prefer and represent different kinds of search results that were completely dependent on a complete outcome and a complete effect of the people paying them to do it. It's like you saying to me, "And I really, really want to meet a nice girl and I just can't find one. Can you introduce me to them?" And then I go talk to girlfriends, right? Like people that I know. And I'm like, I have a guy, he's like a bazillionaire. He's a little ugly, but he has a lot of money. Who wants to meet him? And this works vice versa. So don't give me like the boy versus girl thing. And a couple of them are like, "Oh, please pick me." And I'm like, okay. And like 5 people said it. And I'm like, wait a second, who's willing to offer me the most money? And someone says, "I'll give you $1,000 to introduce me to that guy and I'll do the rest from there." And I'm like, okay, great. And then I go to the guy and I go, "Hey, listen, I have this one friend. She's amazing. She's the best. I went through everyone and she's the one that is just the most masterful. You're going to love her. In fact, 10 years from now, you're going to love her even more than today." And then he meets her. Is that the best choice for him? Or is it the choice that was best because I directed it to him? And that's the problem. That guy is marrying someone that isn't his best choice, and maybe he lives happily with her, right? But it wasn't the best choice by definition. So what if there was a choice? What if there was an alternative? What if instead of just for-profit search engines, there was a non-profit search engine? Well, then now that can compete, because the problem is, and the email that I wrote everyone today, which was completely wonky and statistical, but you got to remember, so Anthony is not just, all right, I can talk fast. Anthony is not just, okay, I can be persuasive. Anthony is not just, okay, this makes sense to me. Let me go ahead and put it in digestible bits for you. But behind all of that is actual statistics. There is a precipice. There is a first thing that leads to a next thing. There is a first domino. And what one needs to understand, when we go ahead and take a look at the statistics, which I have in the computer in front of me, and I'm not going to bore you with all of it because you have it in the email, you can very clearly see at the rate we're going, by 2027, there is no such thing as a small business anymore in this country. And you can say, "Well, Anthony, that's like a bit hyperbole." Read the email, right? But when you're a for-profit search engine, you offer results that are relevant to the person's search. We're there, right? Like you wouldn't offer someone a bologna sandwich because they shopped for shoes, right? So they click shoes, and now you have a full spectrum of the internet because you're Google and you scour the whole internet, right? Remember those servers, blah, 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 blah. You have a full spectrum of the internet of shoe companies. Okay, how do you pick which shoe company you're going to show this user? Well, who paid you the most? Well, Nike paid us the most, so let's put that as a 1 result. Adidas paid us second most, let's put that as a 2nd result. Reebok paid us a 3rd, let's put us a 3rd most. And then we got to be fair. So let's put like a search from like their local community, maybe a mall, whatever, right? But they know, just like 89% of people will never go to page 2, X amount of people will never go to the fourth search. So it's kind of like a little bit of lip service. But what it does is the companies that are able to pay Google are the ones that grow, right? Because remember, they're making 200% on their money because that's the way Google sets up the payment. So the companies that can pay Google grow. What happens to the companies that can't pay Google? They fall, right? Money is not unilaterally, you don't just pick it from a tree. Money to them means no money here. What that means is, by definition, a for-profit search engine will be to the benefit of the companies with the resources to pay that search engine to go ahead and be their paying customers, which means as a user, you and I, when we go to Google, when we type in anything, we are siphoning money from our locale, from our communities to Wall Street, to large corporations, because by definition, those large enough to go ahead and pay for those searches, pay for those results, are like uber large, right? So what happens to the Main Street companies? What happens to the local businesses? Well, they go out of business because they no longer could afford staying in business because no one's buying their stuff. And in fact, not only are they not buying their stuff and they're going out of business, but because no one's even attempting to go ahead and buy their stuff, how many businesses don't even start, right? I'm not going to start a shoe company in my neighborhood. You know why? Because no one buys shoes in the neighborhood. They all know to buy it on Google. They all know to buy it on Amazon. That's where they go ahead and make those purchases. So not only would my shoe company go under, my shoe company would never even get started. So how do we go ahead and combat that? What is it that would allow us to go ahead and say, we identify what you're doing and it's America, God bless, you did this, but you're an existential threat. And I want to go through a little bit of these transactions or the stats that I sent over, because there was one that allowed me to kind of show you where we're going. So the total search market in the US is 3.8 billion searches a day. The number of purchases is 3.5%. The conversion rate of purchases for searches is 3.5%, which equals 1.7 billion purchases are done via searches. Now, Google is 94% of the search market, so let's just say Google, because otherwise I gotta say Google, Yahoo, MSN, Bing, blah, blah, blah. The average order value per purchase is $115.77, which means the total sales made in the US daily, daily is $197 billion. So revenue per state is $3.9 billion. That represents how many different, when you average it out per state. Now, each state has 62 counties. That's $63 million per county, right? Now, that's an average. Some states have 2 counties, some states have like a bazillion, right? So 62 counties per state equals $63 million. Now, the growth of the Google market or the search engine market, the purchases on the internet via searches is 16.1%, which means this year, each county is going to lose $63 million of revenue to search engines. That $63 million is being taken from Main Street and small businesses to Wall Street and large corporations. At 16.1% growth, in 2023, that's $85.7 million is being taken out of those communities. In 2024, that number is $99.5 million. I'm going to get to you, Fatima. I didn't actually read what you wrote because I'm in a groove, but I will, I promise. In 2024, that's $99.5 million is taken out of each county. So when you go ahead and take a look, well, do you think your county would be better off with $100 million? Think about what your county is even worth. Would it be different? Would you have a vibrant Main Street? Would you have businesses all over the place? Would you have the best school system, the best law enforcement? Would everyone be happy if your county had an additional $100 million by 2024? I think the answer is yes, right? I think that's where I was going with that. Okay. So the question, actually, hold on. I had one more thing. Let me just find it. Stay with me. Okay, so the average county, so the per capita income. So there's, all right, let me start over. There's an average of 21,000 households per county. The per capita income per household is 22,800 across the US, right? Maybe you live in a nice place, maybe you don't, but it's averages, right? Which means the GDP, the gross domestic product of each county, what the county's actually worth, is $489 million. Okay. By 2024, $100 million is being taken out of that community, which means 20% of the revenue per county is being taken out and siphoned from small business to main business. Now, the exponential effect of that is when the big gets bigger and the small gets smaller, the competition becomes more skewed. So that by 2024, that's 20%. By 2027, we forecast there's not a such thing as a small business anymore. So the question then becomes, all right, this is actually like an existential threat. This is something that's actually touching the lives of people far more than, oh, did you read the newspaper today, honey? It's, no, I have to work at Walmart. There's no other jobs here. Yeah, I have to work at Subway. Yeah, I have a half-hour lunch, Mom. I'm going to get fired. If I get fired, where am I going to go? That seeps into politics. When you have large corporations and big government in complete control over the people because they have all the economics, that's called fascism. So this isn't Anthony just saying, okay, guys, like I'm going to just try to scare you a little bit. This is real. This is what's actually happening. So the solution to something like this is, that's the difficult part, right? Like, remember when we were talking about the inception of the idea, you had to poke holes in it and blah, 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 blah. That's the difficult part. What's the solution? Because, you know, many times you would share something like this and the average person would say, you know what? We got to get them back. You know what? I hate big business. I hate them. They're screwing everyone. And they go to the bar and they just like, nothing happens, right? They just whine and complain about it because there's always a perception that you're overly dramatic. You're just, you know, you're talking about the world ending, but the world doesn't end. So you can talk about it and be fearful of it, but it's never going to happen. So you don't take action until the world ends. And then you're like, oh, well, oops, right? Like I should have done something. But that only happens once, right? So what do? And then you have the other people that say there's really nothing to do. It's a rigged system. I'm just going to build up my guns. I'm going to buy some gold coins. And then you have the other people that say it's outside my purview. It's outside my pay grade. I'm just going to I'm going to pray. I'm going to go to church more. I'm going to, you know, take care of my family and just wish for the best, that the Almighty will take care of us all, right? Like there's different ways of looking at this. What we believe is that when you go ahead and diagnose and just really deduce down to where's the issue, I think we identified it. I think we know it's search engines. And it's not that the search engine's bad, it's that it's to the benefit of who? So we thought to ourselves, you know what? We want to be the company. We want to found, we want to invent, we want to create the technology for the first time ever that creates a nonprofit search engine. And now, easier said than done, and that's kind of like not even really a sexy sentence. So there's probably people that are like, yeah, you know, there's all the search engines out there, you're just not talking about them, and other people have tried this and they failed. Yeah, I bet that's true, right? I don't think I'm the smartest person in the entire world where I'm going to come up with the idea first. In fact, I've been talking about this for years, so maybe someone else said, hey, that's a good idea, and they're trying to do it too. Fine, God bless everyone. But it's not only who gets there first, but who's the smartest. And I believe that that combination is in our favor because we're launching June 25th. So what's Rhino Street? Rhino Street is that solution, is a nonprofit search engine, right? But, you know, nonprofit search engine, like you could probably use, you know, the way Google does it, they scour the internet. So you're just going to scour the internet and not make money. Great, good job, Ed. No. See, Google scours the entire internet of key terms and whatnot because they put so much investment into service that they could own the internet. They could use the internet as their playhouse. But like anything else, that has limitations. because you don't have a personal connection, or because people didn't opt into you, you're just forcing them to go along with it and giving them something like, hey, I'm Google, I'm going to let people find you because they're going to come to us, you're going to like it. That's not like, you accept that. It's like when you ask your parents for $10 and they give you $5 and you say, but mom, and she goes, well, how about I give you $0? And you're like, well, I'll take the $5. That's Google and the way they operate. What Rhino Street does, it's opposite. We don't scour the internet. We don't show websites that aren't opt-ins. So the way we build our database, which for all intents and purposes is like one big Excel sheet, is companies opt in to Rhino Street to be listed on Rhino Street. By the behavior of them opting in, they not only understand what they're opting into, but they also understand that to their own benefit, the search engine only works at its most ideal and optimal level if they have others opt in. This isn't one of those, well, I'm going to keep it to myself. I know that the gold's over there and I'm just going to dig it. This is one of those, I just bought a fax machine and it's worth nothing unless other people have the fax machine. So I believe in this fax machine. So let me go tell other people, buy the fax machine, right? That's how the search engine works. So not only is that the way people get brought in, but because people get brought in that way, we have ultimate discretion of who we allow and who we disallow. Right off the bat, that sounds like a slippery slope to Anthony. You're kind of going down that path. No, we tell you right off the bat, and this will never change. Wall Street companies are disqualified. They will never. Yeah. Walmart, you will never find on Rhino Street. Target, you'll never find on Rhino Street. You'll just never find it because that's not the value we're offering. There are search engines that you do find them. We're not saying don't go to Walmart. If you want to go to Walmart, God bless, go to Walmart. And if you want to look up where Walmart is, God bless, go look it up. It's just not going to happen on ours. And that's not because we're saying we hate them and we won't play ball with them. It's because it already exists. Why are we inventing something that already exists? You know where to go. No Wall Street company will ever be on our platform. The companies that will be on the platform are all Main Street businesses that either opted in or were recommended to opt in which case, upon their recommendation, we send an email to them. Hey, Mary Jane just recommended that your business, blah, 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 Pat's Bee Shop, because you have the best bees in town, and she calls you the bee's knees, is saying that you should come join Rhino Street. Would you like to join Rhino Street? In which case they opt in, and now they're on Rhino Street, which means the entire ecosystem, the entire platform is all those that actually want to be there. Now, let me ask you something. When you're somewhere and you're surrounded by others that want to be there, do you take care of where you are? Do you look to build the party you're in? Or do you say, I got invited to this party. I want to go to this party. In fact, I set up this party. I invited my friends to this party, but I hope this party is a complete dud. In fact, I want that party to do good while I sit here like a party pooper. I don't think that's what people do. I think by the behavior of others coming in and all opting in together, it's now in the best intention, the self-motivation of everyone in there to grow it, especially when everyone understands that we're doing something to combat an existential threat. Not only are we telling people or obligating people or just educating people, this is what needs to happen, but we're also saying you have the power. So either do it or don't, but we are never going to let you not do it and completely be ignorant to the fact of the change and the actions and the results and the responsibilities you have. So we believe it's going to be fairly vibrant, right? Now, when you go ahead and purchase, and every search result is within 20-mile radius of the user. So as a user, you opt into allowing permission for your location, your zip code. If you do not want to accept permission, you have to then type in a zip code, which is actually quite good for those that are going on vacation, right? I'm going on vacation to Manhattan tomorrow. I want to see what kind of Main Street businesses they have there. So I want to decline permission and I want to type in 1001, Manhattan, New York. Now I'm searching that location. Okay. So by definition, by design, any result that you get on Rhino Street is a Main Street business, but more so than that, it's your Main Street. It's yours. Every single business that comes up are your neighbors. They're your community. So are you the type of person that says, you know what? F my community. I don't like them. I'd rather pay $2 less to buy it from Walmart, let everything collapse, and that's me. Or are you the type, and I know this to be fact because all the pictures that we aggregated and all the things that we've done on social media in terms of research all has the same hashtag, shop local. This country understands the problem. They just don't have a solution. So in that they don't have a solution, they're all divided trying to figure out their own solution. And in being divided for your own solution, you become very tribalistic. So this race believes this race is bad, this gender believes this gender is bad, this age thinks this age is this bad, this political party thinks this political party is bad, because they don't know who to blame. They don't know how to solve it because there is no solution. That's what Rhino Street is. So getting to the fact of, well, Anthony, okay, so when you go ahead and purchase from a Main Street business, all right, Ant, okay, so I purchased from a Main Street business. What does that do for my community? Well, the owner of that Main Street business lives in your community. The money that goes to that Main Street business is used to cover overhead. Who's the overhead? The labor. Who's the labor? Your neighbors. That's where the jobs are. Okay, well, what about his profit, Ant? You know, profit. Yeah, what does he do with it? Does he hire more workers? Does he buy more product? Does he build a bigger business? He or she, right? Does she go to dinner that night? Does she go out for lunch? Does she take her husband out on a date? Do they go see a movie? Do they go see a show? What do they do with the profit? Well, those are the most common things to do with it. Oh, well, and you know, there's this one guy in my neighborhood, and he just he's a cheap guy. He just invested all. Okay, it's America. If he wants to go invest his money, God bless. But I can promise you that when he sees the growth of his own community, those investments are going to go there. You know why? Because money goes where it's best treated. It's a sentence that will always ring true. So Rhino Street not only identifies and supports Main Street business, but it grows local community. Okay, that sounds good, and that search engine grows Wall Street at the expense of Main Street. This grows Main Street at the expense of Wall Street. So these two search engines actually go ahead and they compete, but for different people. This is specialized for this. This is specialized for this, which means I now have a choice. Do I want to support my local community, or do I want to go ahead and purchase from a big corporation? And it's not black and white like that, right? If I want to buy an iPhone, I'm going to buy it from Apple. If I want to go ahead and order food or shoes or something like that, I'm going to check my community first. Why not? You got to remember, companies like Nike and all the rest, they have to go ahead and advertise to a mass market, which means nothing's customized. You are eating bland burgers from McDonald's. What about the cool new place in town that uses like the local tomatoes? Do you even want to know about that place? Do you want to support that place? Do you want that place to exist? Do you want that place 200 years from now to be a tourist destination where everyone says, oh my God, the best burger I ever had was when I was at Dubuque, Iowa, and by golly gee. That's what you're stealing from yourself by not identifying this idea, by not identifying the solution. And then it comes down to the final point, really. Well, how do you go ahead and afford this, right? Like, how does that work? You're not taking money from anyone. Are you doing an ad platform? No one can pay me to do anything. Period. End of story. Well, how are you making money? Because I see you have a team. I see that you have stuff, right? Like you have 75 computers for like what reason? I don't know, to play music. How are you affording this stuff? And that's Rhino Coin. That's the investment we're bringing in, because for those that remember, we've always said there is a investor class, there is a wealthy class, and their objection by definition is to invest. Nobody that has $1 million takes the $1 million and puts it in their couch or puts it into their bed. You know why? Because that money loses money to inflation and it just sits there. It does nothing. In fact, at the very most conservative, they say, okay, I'll buy a bond so that they can get some return. People with money invest in things that have recognizable growth. People without money are looking to build money. So in creating this, we have to identify where the money's coming from. That's not to say, well, those rich guys are going to give it to us. It's to say that it is in their benefit. Any rich person will tell you what I'm lacking is a good idea. I wish I could find a good idea. I'd put all the money into it, right? So it is those people that say, Rhino Street, I see what you're doing. I understand what's going on. How do I get involved? How do I invest in what you're doing? And it's because the idea is of that caliber. And it's because we have the relationships with those people through Anthony just being Anthony and being able to turn a switch and talk investor to investor. Hey, this is what we're doing, and this is how you can invest in it. That's Rhino Coin. We put together a managed market where Rhino Coin was introduced at 1.5 cents in December, right? I think so. But it was 1 cent to all equity holders. So those investors saw the opportunity and said, okay, how does this go up? And we had shared with them, it's a managed market. It's go up 1 penny every single month until we go live. And we freely will exchange. In fact, there are some investors that did cash out some coin with us, and we did go ahead and pay them. In fact, we have a $50,000 payment going out tomorrow, which is probably the worst time ever because we're raising funds, but that's life. We stand by our guarantees, right? So as that money came in, we used it to fund everything. We used it to build our team. We used it to go ahead and sign that contract with Salesforce. We also distributed it back to the investors in a 1% monthly dividend. And every time we came up to a new milestone that we were able to complete, we went to our investors and said, okay, now we did this. Now we need more from you. Because the ultimate vision is when we get to that last point, you will never worry about money again. But we are not doing this for your benefit solely. We're going to make sure that everyone makes money and everyone's okay with that. Because despite what you ever heard about really rich people, they want you to be rich too. It's the fact that the system is set up in such a way that rich people can't give to poor people because they go ahead and give to a politician who says they're going to do tax breaks over here, or they're going to do these welfare programs, or these social nets, or this helping of the community, and no one even realizes the congressman gets paid $400,000 a year, and he has his buddies going ahead and getting the contracts. It doesn't work. The system's broke. But we can't fix all that from where they are, but we can fix it with population. How do you get population? You find something that everyone has a challenge with, and you create a solution. What's a better challenge than economics and family and standard of living? We're going to change stuff. Rhino Street is step one. For anyone that does not see the vision that 10, 15 years from now, we're going to save the world, doesn't see what we're doing. So let's get back to Rhino Coin. So how does Rhino Coin actually work? And a lot of people ask me that because they're like, well, I guess you can guess the rest of the sentence. How does Rhino Coin work? So I want to go ahead and make an analogy to you. And I thought a lot more people were familiar with this term, but they're not, because either they don't live in New York City or they never saw Moulin Rouge with Celine Dion and Christina Aguilera. Air rights. What air rights are, anyway, so what air rights are is most commonly known in urban areas like big business districts. So for instance, in New York City, you may own a building that's like a skyscraper, right? It's like 100 stories up. And you go ahead and charge rent to your tenants for living in that building. The rent that you charge is obviously based on location. Do you live near like Madison Square Garden? Do you live near Wall Street, right? Like where are you? And it's also based on what's the view and amenities and stuff, but what's the view? Because when you live in New York City and you live on the 100th floor of a building, you kind of want to see something, right? So if that building had an unobstructed, beautiful view to Central Park, you would be like, wow, I'm so privileged. I wake up every morning, I yawn naked in front of my window and I see Central Park and I see people the size of ants running all over the place. That's really great. In fact, there are buildings in New York that charge $20,000 of rent per month for that apartment. And in fact, they don't even exist anymore because no one gives up those apartments. If you have enough money to pay for it, you're there. What if the building between you and Central Park said, ha, you guys, I see what you're doing. I'm going to make my building 100 stories and I'm going to give a better view because I'm closer to Central Park. Well, what would happen to the $20,000 rent? Instead of waking up naked, looking at Central Park, you're now looking at some other person that's looking back at you, and they are now looking at Central Park. So you'd have to see Central Park through their windows and hoping they move, and they're probably naked too, right? That's what would happen. So that $20,000 rent, is probably going to go down quite sizably. What happens to the income of that building? What happens to the value of that building? It craters. Now, mind you, that building was probably gotten with a mortgage, and now your building value is less than your mortgage amount, and you go bankrupt, and the building is like, I don't know, an Amazon fulfillment center. So you would never run the risk that another building can do that. In fact, you would never, ever dream of even buying that building unless you knew that you could guarantee that you had that view. So what you would do is you would buy the air rights of the buildings that would obstruct the view. You would go to that other building and say, hey, listen, I'm going to pay you $10 million right now for the guarantee, for contractually, that you will never build over 20 stories. I see that you're currently 15 stories. So yeah, build more. Like take the 10 million and invest, and God bless, but you could never build over 20 stories. And the person in that building is like, I didn't even know I could sell air. You're telling me I can sell you the air above me and you're going to pay me $10 million. And he's like, yeah. Point being, what air rights represent is an asset that was never known. It was never identified, but upon identifying it, you understood the value of it. That's how Rhino Coin makes money, through air rights. But the air rights are not a building. The air rights are the transactions. Here's how that works. So when a user of the search engine purchases anything from a business that's on Rhino Street, that transaction happens like this. I go ahead and buy a t-shirt from you for $10. While that $10 is in transit to you, the $10 buys $10 of Rhino Coin and subsequently sells your predetermined percentage of coin. So let's say you want to sell 100%, right? So that's the example. I buy a t-shirt from you, I give you $10. In transit, that $10 buys $10 of Rhino Coin and then subsequently sells $10 of Rhino Coin, which yields you $10. Now, mind you, it'll probably yield you like $9.50 because the market is not as efficient in anything, right? If you buy a stock and sell a stock, there's a spread in between. This does not count transaction costs because we're not charging you transaction costs, but there is a bid and ask. So let's say $9.50 gets to you. And you're like, okay, I'm not really happy that I got $9.50 rather than $10, but actually, what's the charges for PayPal, Square, and Stripe? Everything has a transaction fee. We're just not offering a transaction fee. So it's kind of the same thing as you get anyway, right? And you say to me, well, Ant, I bought it, I sold it, like, because I want my money. I don't actually know what happened there. Well, you transacted $20 worth of Rhino Coin. Okay, I still don't understand what happened there. Well, every business on Rhino Street transacts the same way. Okay. So if we have 10,000 businesses on Rhino Street and they're all transacting $1,000 a week, that's $100,000 a week that gets transacted, that's in transactions, and the buy and sell equals $200,000 worth of buys and sells of Rhino Coin. Okay, which means the Rhino Coin value is the first time that you're able to capture the entire market on a platform. Like, for instance, if Google, every time something got bought and sold on Google was done in Google Coin, how much would Google Coin be worth? Well, probably a lot. It'd probably be a currency because Google's accepted anywhere. If I could use a Google Coin, why wouldn't I? Exactly. Now, Google's too far along to ever make that decision because they're too big. They already have too much stuff done. And I shouldn't say too far along, like I'm sure they could figure it out, but that's not something they're going to do anytime soon. Rhino Coin is every transaction. So someone said to me, well, Ant, what if I sell all my Rhino Coin? Would I crush the market? And the common answer is yes, because the way all these coins are done is they're not backed by anything. They have no transactions. So if one major investor sells it, they squish it for everyone else. And as it's coming down, everyone sells it. It ends up being completely worth nothing. Everyone has seen that over a bazillion times over the last couple of years. But Rhino Coin has real buying. Every transaction is a buy. Someone asked me, well, Ant, well, what if a company doesn't do any transactions on Rhino Street? There's, obviously they're really successful. They're doing transactions on Google and stuff. Or there's walk-ins or stuff like that. How do you account for that? There's no segregation. By the time when the business comes on to Rhino Street, we absorb all of their purchases because they have a merchant system, because the payment system of Rhino Coin, which we're custom coding, is one-in-one with the transaction system, which is the merchant system upon the business opting into that. Well, Anthony, why would any business opt into that? That's, well, A, there's not much reason not to, right? Like the transaction and everything probably costs the same regardless. The community, which we already touched on, is everyone that opted in already. They're already there. They're looking to make it better. They all have a vested interest in it. So upon them actually looking for a reason to say yes, and the alternative being quite similar and not much of a difference, that's enough reason to say yes. But what if you wanted another reason? We distribute coin to each member. Every member of the platform gets 50 coin per month. In fact, I'm going to announce right now, because this is the last week to own coin or to buy coin, it's because we want to go ahead and further incentivize the businesses and users of the platform, because Rhino Street has now escalated to, yes, we wanted to invest in the platform to build it, but now it's built, we just want to go ahead and launch it. And in that launch, the value of the coin is quite important. We need to make sure that we hit our goals. So we're going to give everyone 100 coin a month going forward, because every business that comes on and every user that's on Rhino Street, we want to make sure is getting paid to be there. So that business that might say, well, will I opt in? Won't I opt in? They're getting 100 coin every single month. What does that mean? Well, by virtue of them receiving the coin every single month, it is in their best interest to go ahead and participate with everyone else in raising the price of the coin. So someone asked me earlier, well, Anthony, how do you know it's going to be $1 when you go live January 25th? Well, A, there's no guarantee of anything, right? But I have firmly believed that the value or the price of Rhino coin is my report card. And anyone that knows me knows in no world, there's not even a single world I could think of that I would ever allow that coin to plummet and hurt the people that have been a part of this. Now, implicit in that sentence is things I can't say, right? Like, I know the levers to pull. But also implicit in that sentence is if all that is required is working and marketing and launching, then you got to be sure that I'm going to do all of that, which is why this week we're raising the money, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Those that get into the coin and those that participate in the raise of the money are being bonused and given the last time ability to buy the coin, and that coin is going to reach the goals that we set because you went ahead and invested to make sure that the launch was a success. All of the things being considered, we went ahead and took a look at everything. Now, we don't know what we don't know, but the only way to be alert and to solve and to be in position to find what you don't know is to be in the office from 5 a.m., to be in the office till 9 p.m., to take every single email, to talk to every single person, to do the fundraising calls yourself, to hear every objection and every idea and every advice and take it and apply it and build it and build it and build it. Welcome to Rhino Street. Now, the coolest part, so let me do one thing real quick. So I'm going to just put the link in to buy the coin. I'll walk through it, but it's 3 o'clock, and I do know there are people that only have an hour, so I don't want to take that ability away from them. That's where you can buy the coin. Seriously, buy a large amount. We're never, ever, ever going to sell the coin ever again after this week, and the opening price that we are set on through our mind and our like unlimited Rhino run through a wall is $1 in June 25th with a forecast of $5.71 by December. The amount you purchase today is at 6 cents a coin, right? So you'll make 20 times your money in 2 months, unless you think I'm going to fail. And if you think I'm going to fail, gonna save that, okay? So anyway, so in terms of the marketing, what is the marketing? So we own, so there's 425 cities in this country that have a population of 50,000 or more, right? Okay. We own the subdomains for all of those cities. So nyc.rhinostreet.com, miami.rhinostreet.com, eugene.rhinostreet.com, Eugene, Oregon, for those that don't know it, right? Each one of those are being built as we speak. We own them already, right? Are being built to be the following format. Our commercial, which was professionally done by videographers that cost us $4,500, like I said, we did it, is going to be beautifully centered in that subdomain lander page, right? The perimeter of that page is 16 photos, all aggregated from social media. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, blah, blah, blah. And how they're sourced is hashtag Eugene, Oregon, right? So when it's hashtag Eugene, Oregon, you know what the pictures are? Of people posting pictures that they've taken in Eugene, Oregon. Their friends at the cafe, them having family dinner, them having Mother's Day, them finding Easter eggs from an actual bunny who laid pink eggs, right? And they post all these photos because they're really cool photos, and they have the community in the background, they have friends, they have the police officers, they have the mayor, they have the cool photos that are worth tagging. Well, we went ahead and screenshotted all of those photos and we put them on the page. Meaning, all right, so the next, or I guess I should back up a little bit, our contract with Salesforce is the super duper duper package, right? So we're able to create and craft emails that have a level of data analytics that whatever you know of data analytics, times it by infinity, bring it down to the depths of your soul, and you're just barely going to get a glimpse of what we're able to do on Salesforce. So, oh, and we also have 1,062,500 contacts, each of them first name, last name, company, business URL, phone number, zip code, title. Okay. Representing 2,500 in each one of those 425 cities. Put it together. Of those, oh, and by the way, those 2,500 are local government, local media, teachers, parent-teacher organizations, law enforcement, urgent care clinics, unemployment office, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, Habitats for Humanity, YMCA, VFW. I'm probably missing a couple more. But the point being, they are pillars of the community that have a social outreach, right? Like their jobs are focused on not only caring about people, like a teacher cares, that's why they're a teacher, and that's why they accept such a low salary to go ahead and babysit our children who most time, not my child, but probably misbehave. They are gods. Any teacher is a god, anyway. But it's because they have a passion for their job. Police officers, firemen. Do you know what it takes to run through a burning building? I don't, but others do. They have to care. So if you're able to present them with something that makes sense, like we're talking about, at least I believe, they have the ability to go ahead and share. When you speak to the mayor and the unemployment offices and show them that A, we can go ahead and solve your unemployment, but B, we can go ahead and solve your tax revenue because there's $100 million leaving your city. Why don't you go ahead and, why don't you go ahead and find a way to, why don't you consider us and see if we can go ahead and solve that for you? We're acting in other people's best interests. We're acting on their heartstrings. We're acting on their pocketbooks. We're acting on their political aspirations. But that's not to be confused with manipulating. We are leading people to an outcome that is in their own best interest, and we're doing it by taking the keys out of their pocket because we know that as a drunk driver, they don't want to die. We know that the next morning they're going to thank us for leading them to the outcome of still being alive. So when they go ahead, when we send out this email, hey, Mayor Jim, we understand your city, bop, 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 and bop, 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 and bop, 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 bop. Here's the solution. We have built this for your city. Take a look at the URL. This is your city, eugene.rhinostreet.com. So I don't care who you are. When you're a pillar of your community and you see a site that actually has your city's name on it and the whole email knows that what you had for breakfast, you're going to click it. So you go ahead and click it and you see this commercial that is Rhino. You see the pictures around the perimeter that says it's your wife, it's your kid, it's your neighbor. You bought Girl Scout cookies from that little wonderful girl the other day. At a minute 22, which is when the commercial ends, the page redirects to Rhino Street, which has a big blinking green arrow, blinking to a big fonted, Rhino green colored, highlighted section says how Rhino Street works. Now that video I have not recorded yet, but I will. Everything that I just shared with you over the last 72 minutes, I'm going to compartmentalize into 2 minutes. I know, you're laughing, right? I get it. Compartmentalize it into 2 minutes with a call to action. We believe that that conversion rate is going to be fairly high. That call to action will either be to list your business, to suggest your favorite businesses, or open a business. Opening a business is something we're working on now. We're creating 40 e-learning platforms that are all small business, Main Street businesses. And someone might say, Ant, you know what? I've gone through e-learning platforms. It's all a crock. Yeah, I learned how to do this, but then what? Well, then what? After you learn how to do it, we are the search engine. We're going to reward you by receiving your Rhino diploma. You're going to be the #1 result in your locality for the next 5 days. Before that, we're going to get on a consult call. Hey, Mr. Jones, I noticed that you learned how to do dog grooming business. What are your next steps to opening the business? Oh, in 2 weeks, I'm going to open it. Great. In 2 weeks, we're going to highlight you. And in fact, we're going to send emails to every single person in your community and go ahead and celebrate what you're doing. Oh, wow, that would be fantastic. Yes, your community of 50,000 people, we have the contacts for 12,000 of them. We're going to make a wonderful email. We know that we get 15,000 searches per day from your community. We're going to make you the #1 result no matter what people search. And we think that this is really going to take you to the next step. Do you think this Mr. Jones is either A, going to move on from Rhino Street, or B, sing the praises of Rhino Street and bring everyone that he's ever known onto Rhino Street? The point being, this entire project is built to be in the best interest of people when you take the money out of it. But because we found air rights, we're able to then distribute the money back to you. And as everyone knows, I've said it from day one, population matters. There's never been a profitable company without a customer. There's never been an elected official without a vote. Population matters. If you're able to go ahead and capture population, the population is worth a lot. The worth of population is exponential because they go ahead and make things happen. So if you were able to go ahead and value the population in a free market way that allows everyone to participate and actually is to the benefit and distribution of the population, what can happen? Welcome to Rhino Street. Also, a couple announcements. So let me just put that link one more time, and then we'll do it together, right? A couple announcements. One, starting next month, everyone is going to receive 100 coin per month, not 50 any longer, because I need and want you to have as much coin as possible, which is what, and again, kind of think about this. I'm canceling selling any coin after this week, so I have enough to give you for free. And not for free, I hate using that word, but to distribute to you for being a partner of Rhino. Again, my investors are probably like, Anthony, you're bonkers, but that's okay. They love me. They understand I'm going to get things done, and I love you. Also, our mobile app will be completed by, I feel like I never talk about the mobile app. It's so cool. So our mobile app will be completed by tomorrow. At least that's my last update. Not to be launched in the app stores, but to be shared amongst friends and family. Everyone in Rhino knows you are friends and family. In fact, you're family. So once we're able to do that, we're going to create a test group, which will be all 1,100 Rhinos, in which case everyone will have it, everyone will sign into it, and everyone could figure it out, right? And please tell me all the advice you have. Did you see? All the advice you have. Okay. As it pertains to our fundraising at the moment, which, by the way, the marketing and the launch we're going to do. So all things be. Also, we're going to be on Pandora Radio, Sirius Satellite Radio, local television stations, social media ad. That's all dependent on what we raise. And I promise you, I did not do everything. Not that I did everything, but we did not get this far. I did not steward us this far to go ahead and be like, oh, we're almost there. Let me take a little break so that our launch is a dud. I'm not doing it. It's not going to happen. Anyone that knows me knows that's going to be the greatest launch that you've ever seen. And I want that. So the fundraising round is twofold. We've only ever allowed equity twice. One was in 2018 and one was in 2000. Maybe we do it every 2 years apparently. One was in 2008, no, actually 2017. One was in 2020, and this is going to be 2022 because everything we've done so far leads us to exactly where we are today. As an equity holder of Rhino, you collect a 1% monthly dividend in cash every month. Otherwise, if you want to reinvest it to compound the interest, that's fine. Rhino Research LLC, the parent company, owns 50 million Rhino coin of the 1 billion in existence, which means if you were a 1% owner in Rhino Research LLC, you now own 500,000 coin, plus you collect a 1% monthly dividend. The valuation of Rhino Research LLC is 4.5 million. So you do the math, 1% is 45,000. But for those that are looking to be a serious partner, that are saying, I see what this is and I want to go ahead, and this is the time I want to be a real partner. I want to own a lot of equity. 100,000 or more will actually lower the valuation to 3 million, meaning 100,000 you now own 3%, and 300,000 you own 9%, right? I think that's the way the math comes out. And for me to do that right now, I don't want anyone raising their hands, right? Like, let's not do that. But I want to go ahead and offer you the book a call link. Let me just get it. Appointment types. Copy. Okay. So this is the book a call link for that. Now it's only till this week, so you have to book a call by Saturday. But if you want to be that, like for instance, if you did 300,000 and you were, what's that come out to? 3 million, that's 10%, right? So if you did 300,000 and you were a 10% owner in Rhino, that means you're collecting a $3,000 cash check every single month, and you own 5 million Rhino coin. Plus everything Rhino ever does in the future. I'm only 35, so we have a long path ahead of us. Who knows, maybe I invent something that rubs your belly and tickles your feet at the same time while giving you grapes and slapping your cheeks and say, good looking Susie, right? I don't know who would buy that. Actually, I might buy that, but that's a different story. If you want to be that person, you got to book the call. My schedule is open. Well, it's as open as calls that are available. There are a lot of booked calls. If, on the other hand, you would like to purchase the coin as of now to just go ahead and participate and contribute to the fundraising, because we need it. We're raising 300,000 this week. We're about 30% to our goal, which means we have a lot still to go. Now, mind you, we have calls all day and tomorrow and the next day. So I'm fairly certain we'll get there, but we want to get there. I will not accept not getting there because I do not represent myself. I represent the entire Rhino community. So we're going to get there. So this is that link. And let me kind of just do a share screen and say that 5 times fast. I want to do a shared screen and show you. Well, first, let me see what Fatima wrote before. But Anthony, small neighborhood businesses aren't able to make as many items available as the larger companies. How do we overcome that? I don't actually understand the question. So small neighborhood businesses aren't able to make as many items available. I think that's perfect. Small neighborhood businesses should not be there should be one general store in a small neighborhood. Every other small business should be something that you specialize in, right? I would rather go to a restaurant that has 3 entree items than a restaurant that has 1,000 entree items. You know why? Because the restaurant that has 3 entree items, I really, really believe they worked pretty hard to make them the best they could be. If they have 1,000 entree items, I don't know which ones are good. It's like Rhino Street. I'm doing one thing. And much advice has been given to me. Anthony, you should make this. Anthony, you should do this. Anthony, you should do this. And every one of them I've taken and thoughtfully processed and also shared with the person that gave me the advice and shared with them. I don't think that's a bad idea. I think that's a next generation idea, because if Rhino Street isn't perfect, isn't exactly what we want it to be, then it doesn't matter what else we put in it. First, Rhino Street is the steak. It does not matter that the broccoli is wonderfully sauteed. If the steak, like my Mother's Day event would tell you, is underdone, it's underdone. So that's that. All right, so let me go to shared screen. Let's do this, right? So let me pull this over here, do this over here. Actually, you know what we should do first? Let's have some fun. All right, this is an incognito window. Let's go to Rhino Street, right? Let's allow my location. And we're gonna just test something. And my team told me this works. So if it doesn't work, my team member who's watching this that comes back in here, it's not gonna be good. All right, anyway, so let's say I wanna become a result. So my name is Anthony. My email is test, actually, you guys know me. So Anthony Calishow at rhinoresearchllc.com. My phone number is 123-456-7891. Okay. My business name is Rhino Street. My business website is rhinostreets.com. My zip code is 07728. I love all rhinos. We are the best. We are going to, gapping, we are going to change the world. Everyone needs to participate. Let's, I can't click anymore because it's only 100 characters. Keyword 1, Rhino. Keyword 2, change. Keyword 3, everyone, right? Okay. Congratulations, you're now listed on Rhino Street. Well, that sounds cool. So let's do what we were doing first, right? So let's go to distributivemarketing.com, which is kind of like our values page. We don't connect coin to our main page anymore, especially since this is the last week. So you have to come here just to show everyone again, distributivemarketing.com. And in fact, just to have a little bit of fun, let's go to google.com, distributive marketing. Number 1, right? So just to give you an idea how much traffic comes to this page, number 1. Well, and go on incognito and do that. Okay. Distributive, if I could spell, still number 1. So I think that shows you that the largest search engine in the entire world understands that we have that much traffic and it behooves them to put our results first, right? Okay, cool. So let's go back. Get your Rhino coin. Now, as it's a little tutorial on what Rhino coin is, get coin, gift coin. So you can view the ledger, which is really cool because this is every single person that owns coin. And it's how much coin they own, how much they purchased. Now, mind you, this is people's first names or their aliases. But what you can see quite clearly is la, 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 the list goes on, right? To 1,074, and that's how many people own coin so far. And that's not updated before this call, so maybe it'll be more later. View balance sheet. So this is all the projections for Rhino coin. What I do need to correct though, or update, I should say, when we launch, this isn't going to be a managed market anymore. In fact, I could probably, watch this. So I can take the calculation, right? No, hold on a sec. Let me see something. Oh, okay, I see what, so I'll do that in a minute. Well, do it later. Anyway, so you'll see launch week here. I really want to do that now though. So why is this? Okay, so I could, okay, great. So here we go. I still don't think that was it. Hold on. Why is this so annoying? All right, so let me do this. 66, 66, 66 times 10,000. Okay, watch this. Actually, we should do it here. Oh, okay, hold on a sec. I'm losing all my mojo today. Okay. This was JKL. Okay, now we got it. J. I'll remind you the wait, are you doing this? Oh, okay, one last time. All right, I'm gonna have to fix that later. But anyway, so by the way, the 10,000 was to show you that these are percentages. So when you move them over, the decimal points goes over 2. So 10,000 is 4 zeros, 2 decimal points per each. There you go. All right. So what you'll realize is come January 2023, $4.96 is the current projection. Now, how do you get these numbers, right? So you have, this is the number of weeks. This is the high number of views on the website. This is how many people have registered for the webinar. This is how many members are on the platform. This is total businesses on the platform. This is projected annual revenue as measured by $150 a week, which is only $7,800 a year per business. This is that weekly. This is Rhino coin amount, the 50 million that Rhino Research LLC owns, plus 50 per month per Rhino member, which is now going to be 100 per month per Rhino member starting next month. This is how much coin is purchased by investors as defined as members of Rhino that have purchased coin, which would be you purchasing coin right now. The average amount is $25.59 per Rhino per week. So to go ahead and cancel all of that going forward, if you do the math, $25 times how many Rhinos do we have? 1,071. It's a nice chunk of change per week, right? This is the literal value. If you take all the weekly transaction volumes and divide it by the 1 billion supply, and obviously that goes higher. And when you talk about literal value, well, there's a literal value and then there's a market value. And every market value includes earnings estimates and projections. That's why nothing's ever a literal value. Demand ratio is what is the buying behavior of both investor and how much distribution is given to the members week over week, and that equals the demand ratio. And as you see, the demand ratio just goes higher and higher because as more members are on, but because the coin is no longer in existence because it's only 1 billion, you can take this and factor it into your calculation because just because toilet paper doesn't exist doesn't mean people wouldn't buy it if it happened. So their propensity, their behavior, the amount of money they would spend on that toilet paper is completely dictated by the demand ratio. 3 months growth rate. And then this is going to be a little bit loopy, a little wonky, but just stay with me. So this is how the calculation is done for the value of the coin. Each one of these numbers calculates the next one, which calculates the next line. So weekly transactional volume divided by total Rhino coin supply of 1 billion, then multiplied by projected demand ratio, which is Rhino coin monthly member disbursement trend, plus Rhino coin weekly purchase trend divided by total supply, then multiplied by the 3-month growth rate in weekly transactional volume. The point is that number encapsulates all of these numbers. Therefore, when you see a number like this, it's only dictated because of all these numbers. These trends are captured and then, what's the word I'm looking for? And escalated? No, not escalated. They're extrapolated. I've been looking for that word forever. They're extrapolated going forward. So any projection is of actual statistics. It's not us making up numbers. It's taking these, calculating them, identifying the trend, and then multiplying going forward. So when you see these numbers, they're numbers you can believe. They're not like when you see 46,000 as a projected value of Rhino coin by January 2024, that's not a number you should run from, even though it sounds a bit Looney Tune-ish. If you understand what we're doing, this is the moment. It's not, when you come across things, you're prone, and and survival instinct that when something sounds too good, it always and mostly is, so you don't do it. But when Mark Zuckerberg spoke to investors in 2004, well, they thought it was too good to be true, but didn't. When Elon Musk spoke to investors in 2007, when Jeff Bezos spoke to investors in 1997, when Steve Jobs spoke to investors in 1984, when Warren Buffett, when Bill Gates, the list goes on. The point is, yes, there 99.999% of too good to be true is too good to be true. But are you smart enough? Are you intelligent enough? Do you have the vision to see when you're in front of that 0.0001? And that's our contention, right? So get coin. So we're going to copy and paste this. Where's our chat, right? Okay. That was the link that we were sharing with you before. This is where it goes. So this is the number. This is the managed market. Now, it's going to be 7 cents in June until we launch. Then these next prices, because market price was supposed to be January 2023, but we're way ahead of schedule. So those aren't going to be relevant. They're simply, it's going to be market price as of July 2022, really the end of June, right? So to purchase the coin, let's see how much it is. May 6 cents. Okay, I know that. All right, so how much coin do I want to purchase at 6 cents? I don't know. This is the last time I could ever purchase it. After this presentation, I kind of see where we're going with this. I kind of look at C. Anthony and believe that person. All right, you know what? I want to purchase 10,000 worth. All right, I'm doing it. 10,000 worth. I'm giving it to them because I believe this investment's going to pan out. So what you'll see is, where is it? 0. Okay. You saw 110 because I had done 10 previously. Now, and you can fix it obviously quite easily. So 100 times 100 equals 10,000. Go to checkout. When you're at checkout, this is via Stripe, which is the largest or the most valuable payment platform in the globe. Well, on the globe. Are you on the globe or in the globe? On the globe, I think, right? Because I'm not in it. Anyway. That's a story for another day. Thank you for your confidence in Rhino, right? So this is all through Stripe checkout. And like purchasing anything, this is what you're going to go through. So what you'll find is that you have your shipping details, which of course, this is going to be an email, but I'm trying to move stuff and like not disrupt myself, but I can never do this part easily because when you move stuff from Zoom, it covers everything else. But anyway, okay. Because I want to get the certificate, which, by the way, we're actually updating the certificate, which is pretty cool. Where'd it go? Okay, there it is. All right, so shipping details, obviously, we're not shipping anything to you, but they do need to corroborate your banking information, right? So that's the way the systems work. If you have a bank card that has a banking address of 07728, but you're putting your address as something else, it won't go through because we don't want that. So you put in your shipping details. When you continue, it's your delivery method. It's going to ask you, do you want it expedited or regular day? And of course, at the same price, which is free because we don't charge anyone for anything. But we do have actual physical product, our charity function, which we've, not that you know this, but we've put it on hold publicly, but we've been just donating privately because we're never going to stop with charity. But we're going to bring everyone back into folds once we do our launch. So do expedited, it doesn't matter. You're going to get an email that has an email from Rhino and an email from Stripe showing you your invoice. The first of every month, you go ahead and receive your certificate. We're going to go ahead and upgrade the design, but this is that. So certificate of ownership, our seal, your name, the amount of coin you own, my signature, and the price of the coin. So fully authenticated. And then payment is your banking information, submit, review, you're done, right? Okay. So let me just go ahead and I want to grab. All right. So just one last time, I want to share this with you. Okay. So the moment of truth, right? So we're going to X out of all this. Actually, we're going to go to incognito window, right? All right. We're going to go to Rhino Street. We're going to not allow access. We're going to put the zip code 07728. Now, if this worked, which please God work, we're going to be able to find the business that we listed before. Our keyword was Rhino. How cool, right? There it is. And I've done it before. I've tested it before. Rhino Street. I love all rhinos. We're the best. We're going to change the world. Everyone needs to participate. You know what's cool? I know the guy of Set Point Designs, and I never realized that he made one of his keywords Rhino. I'm really, really impressed. That's a great keyword, because obviously that's going to be, you know, we might have to like not allow that because that's kind of like a cheat code, but neither here nor there. Just know Set Point Design, I'm calling you later and I'm going to sing your praises because good job. All right, so Rhino. Boom, what can I say about Rhino? Oh, this is the one we did, Rhino Street. I love all rhinos. We are the best. We're going to change the world. Everyone needs to participate. Guys, I made this during our call. The results are live. They're working. You can go ahead and populate the results right now. In fact, next week, we're going to start populating all the results because by launch, we're going to have 7,000 results already populated. So let me see. How do I get off stop share? You think I would know this stuff? So that's our presentation. Please, please, please. It is important. We are raising the funds for the launch. We want the funds. It's not that we're asking you for it as a favor. Obviously, you'll be helping us, but helping everyone that's in Rhino. This is the last opportunity this week to ever purchase any coin at 6 cents. Because the next opportunity to purchase coin is when it's going to be live. And if you believe me, and if you can look at me and understand that that coin will be $1 or over, then what you'll very quickly realize is you could have bought at 6 cents today, and if you want to sell $1, fine, God bless. But instead, and made 20 times your money, but instead you're going to have to purchase at $1 or whatever it is, and whatever it's running to, because everyone's going to be excited and start getting into it, and look back and say, why did I should have done it. So that's our presentation. I'm really happy I got to be with everyone today. And totally love you. So good night, goodbye. I will see you next Wednesday with some more fun, cool updates. The subdomain landers will most likely be completed, so I'll be able to show you some of them. And what else? Oh, the mobile app. Oh my God. So I'll be sending that out this weekend. If everything goes, right? I'm depending on my team. And when you're building an app, like things happen. But the goal is that by Friday, I will send everyone an email inviting you to sign up. And then next week we can, like, that's fun. Oh my God. Okay, I'm like a child. All right. Love you. Rhinos. I couldn't do this myself. So let's do it together. I love everyone. Bye, guys.